Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the presentation of my honors project I've dubbed the French Connection, the exponential growth of Rhode Island women's basketball, where I highlighted how head coach Tammy Reese and associate head coach Adnai Amadou revived a struggling program by embracing the recruitment of international talent. So to start, just to provide some introduction and project background. Why did I choose Rhode Island women's basketball? Well, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a pharmacy student, I'm a sports media major, so when I found out that I had to do an honors project to graduate from the program, I was struggling to think of an idea or something to do because I couldn't build a robot and I couldn't do a clinical trial in pharmaceutical drugs, so I wanted to find a story that connected my love for sports media and my studies as a French minor, and while I was doing some digging and some due diligence, it dawned on me that there is a program here at the University of Rhode Island that comprises both of those things. And the Rhode Island women's basketball program, as I will hope to teach you throughout this presentation, embodies that. And so this project aimed to highlight the unprecedented success of the Rhode Island women's basketball program following the hiring of Tammy Reese and Adnai Amadou in 2019, while focusing on the impact of the French international students. So for my research methods, I conducted a series of interviews through this past 2024-25 season with players and coaches as part of the Rhode Island women's basketball program. This was a part of my personal podcast called Marks Remarks. I love the QR code so you guys can access those interviews after the presentation. I did a series of research into the history of the program itself, as well as the growth of basketball in France as a whole, and compiled all of these findings into a feature story. And just to provide a snapshot of the recent success that I am talking about, before Coach Reese arrived in 2019, the program had 17 total wins in the 3 seasons beforehand. 17 wins and 71 losses during that time. And they only had one single 17-win season between 1995 and 2019, getting 21 wins back in 1995. So to say that this team was a minnow in the college basketball landscape is an understatement. And in the years following the arrival of Coach Reese and Coach Amadou, they've won a program first regular season title in 2023, have had 3 20-win seasons, and have had 2 postseason victories, as well as setting a new single-season win record with 26. So now into the nitty-gritty of my project, the overall interviews. I first started with 2 interviews with head coach Tammy Reese, a recent bronze medal winning coach at Team USA at the Paris 2024 Olympics. She was an assistant coach with the women's 3v3 basketball team. Talked a lot about that and how that impacted her recruitment and their approach to recruitment. And Adnai Amadou, a storied assistant coach at Kentucky, Dayton, and Syracuse, who joined Coach Reese in Kingston when she arrived in April 2019. We discussed a lot about their coaching origins, what brought them to Kingston in the first place, and then what their recruitment philosophies were and their overall mission when it comes to bringing in talented women's basketball players and their goal of developing them both on and off the court. I then moved into 4 interviews with veteran French players on the team. We discussed their overall basketball journeys as they were all recruited by Coach Amadou and Coach Reese over the past 4 seasons. We discussed how they fell in love with the game of basketball, what their overall recruitment experiences were when they were being the discussions of coming to the University of Rhode Island with Coach Amadou and their families, and then how they've developed in Kingston. Because the team prides itself on a strong culture of developing young women, we discussed a lot about how they developed through their 4 years in Kingston, as these players have all been with the program for varying amounts of time. And then to round it out, I interviewed 2 rookies who joined the women's basketball program this past season. They were both freshmen that were recruited from France. The same thing applied. We discussed their early basketball careers and their overall recruitment experiences to be brought to Kingston. But then we talked a lot more about how they each embraced the overall culture of development with this program. As they weren't seeing very much game time in their first season, they got a lot more experience with the off-the-court development that this team prides itself on. So we got to discuss a lot about how that's impacted them in their first season in Rhode Island. And so then moving on to the overall results that I got from these interviews. Firstly, there was a major shift in recruiting when Coach Reese arrived. Due to the poor reputation that this program had because there was no success to even mention to recruits, it was very difficult to recruit American talent to the University of Rhode Island at the start of Coach Reese's tenure. And so as a result, they had to shift their focus to sort of think outside the box in order to close the overall gap between them and the rest of the Atlantic 10 and other mid-major programs in the United States. And so that shift in focus led to the recruitment pipeline that embodies this project. Due to Coach Reese's duties with Team USA spanning the past few years, the brunt of the recruitment, and particularly international recruitment, fell on the shoulders of Associate Head Coach Amadou. And so as a result of that, since 2020, Rhode Island has featured 5 French student athletes on their roster every single season. And there's only 12 to 13 players on a roster, so to have 5 French players on a single basketball roster is unprecedented in any sport, let alone college athletics. And this search was more focused on finding high potential players that matched the overall character and values that the program was trying to forge. Since the program is run like a family, they're trying to bring in players that will make a positive impact on the culture of the team, regardless if they're an unbelievable basketball player or not. It's whether or not they'll positively impact the overall team culture, which is why the team gels so well. And so when I asked Coach Amadou, what's your overall message to these players and their families, his response was quite profound. So I'm going to share with you exactly what he said, and you can hear him say this for yourself in the interview. We take the responsibility of education very seriously. We don't just mean books, we mean the ability to meet life situations that you can relate to anyone, anywhere, regardless of socioeconomic status or culture. The ability to live and be comfortable around people who live differently than you do. You have an environment of people who are like-minded as far as a passion for the profession. We see it as a job to craft, to contribute to society by educating your child and helping them get to places where they may not believe they could reach. This was his message that he says he prompts every recruit and their families with when they ask, why should I come to the University of Rhode Island? And lastly, Coach Reese's philosophy is more transformational, not transactional. Many recruits who come to Kingston will spend all 4 years here at the University of Rhode Island, and this continuity season after season strengthens the overall culture that's been forged by the program. Veterans will mold these younger rookies and teach them the ways and the standard that Coach Reese and her staff have implemented. And as they continue to develop and those veterans graduate, those rookies move up the ranks, and the cycle continues to repeat itself as the pipeline continues to churn out talented players to Kingston. And when I asked Coach Reese about this, she said her mission statement is simple. It's to grow and mentor people, to be transformational and not transactional, something that's all the more rare in this new era of college athletics. And so, looking forward, could there be a new approach to recruitment? With Coach Reese coming back from her duties with Team USA, she's made it very clear that she wants to get back on the recruiting trail herself and use some of the accolades that she's received with the Olympic team and the recent success of the program to attract the highest quality American talent possible. And with the impact of name, image, and likeness, making it all the more difficult for mid-major programs like Rhode Island to attract talent because of the price tags that many players are demanding, it makes it a lot more difficult for these smaller programs to continue attracting talent that will push the needle and make Rhode Island competitive in years to come. And the future of international recruiting remains uncertain in general. If obviously we're all paying attention to the news, we've seen a number of decisions made by the current Trump administration could leave the future of international recruiting and for sports and academics in general in balance. So it remains to be seen how this pipeline will continue to churn out. But so long as Coach Amadou and Coach Reese are still together at the helm of this program, I'm certain that there will still be French players that continue to go through, given the strength of the reputation the program has now. And so in conclusion, Tammy Reese and Adonai Amadou have not only transformed the University of Rhode Island women's basketball program, but they've set the standard for future success through their commitment to character and their commitment to developing young women, not only as basketball players, but as overall adults that are willing to contribute to society outside of athletics. And when I finished my interview with Coach Reese, I asked her, just what's your message to fans, that want to get a look into what the future of this team may look like? and she was as candid as could possibly be. If you know her, you know how eccentric she is. She said, we're going to take the best players available. We don't discriminate. They can be international, they can be American, they can come from east, west, north, or south. I don't care. So long as they are great players and they fit our culture, that's who we want to bring in. And so thank you everybody for taking the time to listen today. If you want to listen to any of the interviews that I conducted, just scan that QR code right there. You'll have links to all of them, and my podcast is available on all podcasting platforms, so please feel free to check out the interviews. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?